We all grow up believing that love is this unstoppable, magical force. We watch the movies, we read the books, and we buy into the idea that if you just find the right person, everything else will naturally fall into place. But what happens when the greatest threats to your relationship aren't a lack of love, but rather the people sitting across from you at the Thanksgiving table, and the very chemical wiring inside your own brain?
It is a terrifying thought, isn't it? We like to think of romantic love as this impenetrable fortress, but in reality, it is under constant siege from two incredibly powerful forces. On one side, you have the heavy, ancient weight of cultural and familial expectations. On the other side, you have millions of years of evolutionary biology tricking you into chasing a chemical high. If you do not understand how these two forces operate, you are essentially walking into a minefield blindfolded.
Let us start with the first minefield, because it is one that destroys so many relationships before they even have a chance to fully bloom: the cultural clash. We hear about this all the time, but it is rarely just a sitcom trope about a disapproving mother-in-law. It goes so much deeper. What happens when your family's fundamental definition of love completely contradicts your own?
That is exactly where the fracture begins. You have to realize that for most of human history, marriage and love had absolutely nothing to do with personal fulfillment. In many traditional cultures, and even just in highly enmeshed families, a relationship is viewed as a merger of two networks. It is about stability, duty, shared values, and elevating the family's status. So, when you bring home a partner who makes your heart sing, but who does not check the boxes of that cultural resume, the family does not just see it as a poor choice. They often see it as a direct betrayal of their legacy.
And that is where the psychological warfare starts. It is rarely a dramatic screaming match. It is the subtle things. The passive-aggressive comments about your partner's career, the exclusion from inside jokes, or the constant reminders of how much your parents sacrificed for you. It puts the person caught in the middle in an impossible position. You are essentially forced to choose between the love of your life and the love of your tribe.
Precisely. And the tragic part is how it slowly poisons the romantic relationship itself. The partner who is not accepted starts to feel like a burden, or worse, a secret to be managed. Meanwhile, the person caught in the middle is drowning in guilt. They start overcompensating, trying to force their partner to adapt to the family's mold, which breeds massive resentment. You stop being lovers and start being crisis managers.
It is almost like a Trojan horse. The family's definition of love, which is rooted in conformity and sacrifice, sneaks into your relationship and hollows it out from the inside. You start questioning yourself. You wonder, am I being selfish for wanting this person? And once that seed of doubt is planted, the foundation of the relationship starts to crack. It makes you wonder how many great loves have been sacrificed on the altar of family approval.
Countless. And it is because the pressure is existential. To go against your family or your culture is to risk excommunication. Humans are social creatures. We are terrified of being cast out of the tribe. So, people often fold. They break up with the person they actually love and settle for the person who looks good on paper to their parents. But the irony is, by choosing the family's definition of love, they sentence themselves to a lifetime of emotional isolation within their own marriage.
Which is a heavy, heavy price to pay for keeping the peace at family gatherings. But let us say you survive that. Let us say you establish your boundaries, you protect your relationship from external cultural pressures, and you build a life together. You think you are safe. But then, the call is coming from inside the house. Or rather, inside your own nervous system.
Ah, yes. The biological sabotage. If culture is the external threat, dopamine is the internal assassin.
The dopamine trap. This is something that I think is ruining modern dating, especially with the illusion of infinite choice on dating apps. We are obsessed with the spark. If a relationship does not feel like a roller coaster of intense longing and euphoria, we assume it is dead. Why are we so addicted to new love? And why does it feel so much better than real, established love?
To understand this, we have to look at how the brain processes novelty. When you first meet someone you are attracted to, your brain floods your system with dopamine. Dopamine is not actually the chemical of pleasure, it is the chemical of anticipation and motivation. It is the thrill of the chase. Every text message, every lingering glance, every unknown variable about this new person sends your dopamine levels skyrocketing. It literally mimics the neurochemistry of a cocaine addiction. You are high.
And like any high, it is completely unsustainable. You cannot live your life at a 10 out of 10 on the emotional intensity scale. You would never get anything done. You would never sleep.
Exactly. Mother Nature designed the honeymoon phase to be temporary. It is meant to bond two people together just long enough to ensure the survival of the species. Usually, this intense dopamine phase lasts anywhere from 6 months to 2 years. After that, the brain has to downregulate. The novelty wears off because you know this person now. You know their habits, their stories, how they take their coffee. The mystery is gone, and so the dopamine drops.
And this is the critical juncture where so many people make a catastrophic mistake. They wake up one morning next to a partner who is kind, loyal, and supportive, but they do not feel that crazy heart-pounding rush anymore. So they look at this beautiful, stable reality and they think, I have fallen out of love.
It is a tragic misunderstanding of our own biology. They mistake peace for boredom. What is supposed to happen after the dopamine fades is the rise of oxytocin and vasopressin. These are the chemicals of deep attachment, trust, and long-term bonding. If dopamine is the fireworks display, oxytocin is the fireplace. Fireworks are thrilling, but they burn out in seconds and leave you in the cold. A fireplace keeps you warm for a lifetime. But because our modern culture is obsessed with instant gratification and constant stimulation, people are throwing away perfectly good fireplaces to go chase more fireworks.
It is like a biological Ponzi scheme. We keep abandoning solid investments for the promise of a quick, massive return, only to end up emotionally bankrupt. And you see people doing this on a loop. Serial monogamists who jump from 2-year relationship to 2-year relationship. As soon as the oxytocin phase sets in and the real work of intimacy begins, they bail. They tell themselves they just haven't found the right person yet, completely blind to the fact that they are just junkies looking for a new hit.
That is a brilliant way to put it. True intimacy is actually quite quiet. It is comfortable. It does not trigger your fight or flight response, which is what a lot of that early dating anxiety really is. When people say they miss the butterflies, they are often saying they miss the anxiety of not knowing if the other person likes them back. Why would we want to live in a perpetual state of anxiety?
Because we have been conditioned to confuse anxiety with passion. Think about it. Both the cultural clash we talked about earlier and the dopamine trap share a common thread. They are both illusions that distract us from the reality of the person standing in front of us. Culture says, love is a duty, love is optics. Biology says, love is a frantic, urgent high. Neither of those things is actual love.
No, they are not. Actual love is a conscious choice. It is the active decision to see another human being in their entirety, without the filter of your family's expectations or the intoxicating haze of your own neurochemistry, and to choose them anyway. It is the quiet Tuesday nights, the shared responsibilities, the mutual respect, and the willingness to grow together when it is no longer effortless.
But that requires an immense amount of self-awareness. To look at your family and say, I respect where you come from, but your fears are not my fears, and your unfulfilled dreams are not my burden. And simultaneously, to look at your own brain when it is bored and craving a new thrill, and say, I am not going to blow up my life for a temporary chemical rush. It requires you to be an active participant in your own life, rather than just reacting to external pressure and internal impulses.
It is the ultimate rebellion. To build a lasting, authentic relationship in today's world, you have to rebel against the centuries of tradition that tell you who to love, and you have to rebel against your own evolutionary wiring that tells you to constantly seek something new. You have to intellectually override the very systems that were designed to control you.
Which makes real, enduring love one of the most profound acts of defiance a human being can achieve. It is not just a fairy tale ending, it is a hard-won victory over biology and sociology. It makes you wonder, if we stopped chasing the phantom of what culture and chemistry tell us love should be, what kind of incredible depths could we actually reach with the people right in front of us?
We would likely find a level of security and profound connection that no fleeting spark or familial approval could ever replicate. We would stop being tourists in our own relationships and finally learn how to build a home.
A fireplace instead of fireworks. I think that is a powerful image to hold on to. We spend so much time worrying about whether we are with the right person, but maybe the real question we need to be asking ourselves is whether we are listening to the right voices. Are we letting history and hormones write our story, or are we going to pick up the pen ourselves?
The pen is always in our hands. The question is just whether we have the courage to use it.
Something for all of us to think about the next time we feel the weight of expectation or the sudden, restless craving for a new spark. Thank you for joining us on the New Sentinel. Keep questioning the forces around you, and more importantly, the forces within you. Until next time.